up, everybody? So good to, it's actually kind of sucks that I can't be with you in person, but we do live in the COVID world right now, and so I'm glad that I can at least be with you online, and so excited you guys are together. Keep your masks on, make everybody sure that you're safe and everybody around you is safe. I got exposed this past week, so I had to stay home, but I'm so glad that you guys are together, and I pray that God will continue to speak to you, even if I'm speaking to you online, through this topic of healing and moving towards what God has for us in healing. So this is week 3, I believe, week 3 of talking about healing and finding healing. So I'm going to start off with this question for you. Have you ever been on a road trip, like a long road trip, a long multi-day trip? Right after I graduated from college, Amir, my brother, and I, and one of our friends decided we are going to go on a long journey across Europe. We're going to go on a road trip, and we planned it out, and we spent hours planning it out. I sat down on my computer and was Googling all this stuff and decided, you know what, we're going to take a train. We're going to take the train all across Europe. We're going to start in Spain and go through France to Germany to Switzerland to all these different spots, and we were so excited about it. We had this huge plan for how it was going to be. And we started on this journey, and right when we got off to start, and we were thinking, man, everything is going to go exactly as planned. We're so excited. We have so many things to see. We have so many places to go for the very first time ever, and we're just so looking forward to it. And so we wake up the first day at like 5 a.m. to head to our first train, and little did we know that this journey was going to be a journey that looked almost nothing like what we were expecting. It had so many turns and so many detours and so many obstacles that we had to go through, but in the end, it was totally worth it. Now let me tell you, so we started on this journey. We took our first train from Spain early in the morning, and we were headed straight to Switzerland. We were just going to take the train straight through France and into Switzerland. And so we're on the train. We spend a few hours on the train going through Spain, and we're getting really close to the border of Spain and France. And the train starts to like slow down, and people start to talk, and they basically tell Amir and myself and our friend Robbie, they were like, all right, everybody, you got to get off the train. You got to, figure out your next connection. So we're kind of confused. We're not really sure what's going on, but we said, all right, we'll just take the train. We asked around, and we asked them we need to head to Switzerland. What should we do? And they didn't really understand us, but they were like, yeah, take this taxi. It'll take you to this next station. So we're like, all right, well, we'll take this, whatever. Head to this taxi. The taxi drops us off at the station, and there was just nothing really going on. So we were super confused. And we're like, what is going on out here? And so after some time, we're talking to some people, trying to figure out what's going on. And I asked this guy at the desk, went to another desk, and turns out that there is no way for us to take the train through France and into Switzerland just like we planned. Why? Because on the week that we decided to take this journey, all of the French workers who worked on trains decided to go on a strike. And there was no functioning trains in all of France. And we had already paid for the tickets to use the train to go from Spain to France to everywhere we were going. We were just taking trains, and we had paid in advance, and that was our way in. And we didn't really have a ton of extra money to spend on other things like another mode of transportation. And so the plan that we had originally had for this journey got totally sidelined. There were things that came up that were unexpected, and I started to get worried. I started to get frustrated. I'm like, man, should we just go back? Should we just cancel this trip? I don't know if we have enough money. I don't know if we have enough resources or time. Everything, we've already booked our Airbnbs. We've booked all of our places that we're going to see. So what are we going to do at this point? Are we just going to have to cancel everything? But, we decided to figure it out and go with it. And just like this story that I'm telling you, just like the detours that have come up in this journey of ours, as we go through this journey of healing that we've been talking about for the past few weeks, isn't it true that the journey of healing also comes with unexpected things. That maybe what we pictured healing to look like as we walk through healing isn't exactly what we would hope for it would be like. And so as we look at this and as we continue looking at the story of the Israelites walking through the desert, the wilderness in the Exodus, we're going to notice that for them, as they try to head to the promised land, to the place where they will find fullness and healing and newness in life, for them, there's also a lot of obstacles that come in the way. For them, there are a lot of moments where they're like, man, should we just turn back? Should we just go home? Just like I was thinking on our trip to Europe. So I'm excited to get this started together. And I want to ask you again, maybe you haven't been on a physical multi-day journey, but I bet that you've also been on a long journey like this for yourself. Maybe in your healing, maybe in a process of recuperating from a past hurt. And it's really a journey. It's taking you down a long journey. And so I'm excited to talk about this because I think this is relevant for all of us. And all of us need to figure out and realize that this healing process is not always going to be exactly how we planned it to be. It's not always going to be exactly what we picture in our head when we say, all right, I'm going to start walking through this forgiveness. I'm going to say, yes, I forgive. So we're going to go through that together. And last week, we decided, we looked at what the Israelites did, and we saw that they did three things. First, that they recognized that they were enslaved and they were being held back from thriving. They were being kept from thriving. The second thing is that they were crying out to God. And the third thing is that they had to take the risk. They had to say, okay, I'm going to take the risk of stepping into the unknown. And we said that those three things we've got to do in order to start healing ourselves as well. And so now, this week, we're going to have three more things that we're going to talk about. And these three things are all three invitations. Three invitations that we're going to see as the journey begins for us, just as it did for the Israelites. Three journeys. And how are we going to get there? So, like the first journey, or the first invitation that we're talking about, is that this journey invites us to have patience. This journey invites us to have patience for the journey. So, like I said, we started off on this trip, and I was excited, but at the same time, we realized that, man, these things that are going to come up, they're unexpected. They're going to take us away from what we thought was going to happen, and the trains that we thought we were going to catch weren't actually going to be possible for us to catch. So they came with unexpected turns and twists. And for the Israelites, they had the same experience. They got off, they were excited, they stepped into what God has for them. They were like, okay, we're gonna leave the slavery behind, and we're gonna step into this newness of life, and we're gonna go towards the promised land that God has for us. And check out what we read in Exodus chapter 16. Exodus chapter 16 says this: the whole Israelite community set out from Elim and came to the desert of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai. On the 15th day of the second month, they had come out of Egypt. In the desert, the whole community grumbled against Moses and Aaron. The Israelites said to them, if only we had died. If only we had died in the Lord's hand, by the Lord's hand in Egypt. There we sat around pots of meat and ate all the food we wanted, but you have brought us out into this desert to starve this entire assembly to death. Man, so these guys, I mean, they've been out for a month and a half now. They had escaped Egypt. They stepped into the wilderness, into the desert to walk towards the promised land. And it's only been a month and a half into this journey, and they're already saying, man, only if we had died. Like, I wish we had died. It would have been better for us if we had died. This journey is difficult. This journey is hard. There are things that are coming up that are unexpected. This is tough. They pictured like coming out of Egypt and going right into the promised land. They imagined leaving their past behind and stepping into complete newness. But what they didn't realize is that in this journey of healing, in this journey towards the promised land that God had for them, it would require patience. There are things that were going to come up that required them to see, okay, this This isn't going to be a like switch perfect right into the newness of life. No, there is actually, it's a journey. We talked about this in the past few weeks. Forgiveness, in order to find healing, forgiveness is an event that happens once, but it's also a process that continues for a longer period of time. And so these Israelites, they're realizing, man, this is going to be a process, and it's going to take some patience. Now here's the thing, right? Imagine this back here. This is Egypt, and they left Egypt, and they're walking towards what they have, their freedom. But even though they've left Egypt, they stepped out of Egypt, what they maybe didn't realize is that as they walk towards the promised land, as they move towards the promised land, they've left Egypt, but maybe Egypt has not left them. Maybe Egypt still has a hold on their mind. Maybe Egypt is still gripping them, and they're saying, man, we wish we could just be back there. It was honestly like, yeah, it was a little stressful. Maybe, yeah, we were enslaved, but at least we knew what we were getting ourselves into. And now going into this new process, it's risky. Like we talked about last week, we're not sure of what's coming. And so we have to be more patient, and we're not sure if we want to be more patient. So Israelites had Egypt really controlling their mind. So maybe, yes, they've already left, but moving towards the promised land, they're losing patience. And so because of that, Egypt still has a grip, still is enslaving their mind, even if they're no longer enslaving their body. Now, let me tell it to you like this. For a lot of us, we feel like when we leave our past behind, when we say, okay, I'm going to forgive and move towards healing and move towards the promised land that God has promised me, sometimes when things get a little difficult for you, you say, man, I kind of just want to quit this journey. Man, I don't know if I have the patience to keep putting up with stuff, to keep dealing with stuff, maybe unexpected things, maybe things that I wasn't really sure what was coming. And we start to feel like, I don't know if I can keep going. We start to sound like these Israelites saying, man, maybe we should just go back. Because we don't have the patience. But let me tell you something. If you go back, you will never find healing. If we go back to the places that we were already enslaved to, we're not going to heal. If we decide, but at least back there we knew what was going on, at least back there in Egypt, we knew that we would be done with our slavery time at 10 p.m. and we'd at least have that extra hour to just do whatever we want. No. If you go back to the things that were holding you hostage, the things that were enslaving you, you will never find healing, because if you go back there, you're lingering in your hurts. If you go back there, you're lingering in the pain. And we talked about this the first week. Lingering in hurt does not lead to healing. And I want healing for every single one of you. I want healing for every single one of us in our church. And if we want to find healing, we have to leave the hurt. We have to step away. We have to take the risk and be willing to be patient in the journey. I had to be patient. Me and Amir and our friend Robbie, we had to be patient when we were on our way in Europe. We had to understand, okay, there are things that are going to come up that are unexpected, but we had to say, okay, we'll try it. We'll go. We'll say, all right, you know what? If unexpected things come up, we're going to keep pushing, because we know that on the other side, it is worth it. So the first thing that we talked about is that in this journey, as we take this journey towards healing, it invites us to have patience for the journey. And that's the first thing that you have to remember, having patience for our journey. The second thing that we got to understand is that as we step into this, this invites us to lament, and I'll explain that word, invites us to lament in the face of continued pain and suffering with a spiritual guide. So that word lament, real quick, just let me explain it. Lament just means to, like, how do I explain this? Well, basically like being sad, like being able to process the sad things that we're dealing with. And as we look at these Israelites, they left they left Egypt and they started headed towards the Promised Land, and the Red Sea closed, and the Egyptians died in the water, and they finally are set free, and they start to celebrate, and they're singing songs, and they're dancing, and you see it in Exodus, these songs that they're singing, they're celebrating. But then a little while later, you see them almost cursing God and saying, man, we wish we were dead, and man, this sucks, this is horrible, this is tough, why are we dealing with this? And so they go through this roller coaster of emotions of sometimes they're really excited, they're really happy, and sometimes they're miserable, and it's just so emotionally straining for them to go up and down and up and down. And isn't that how we feel as we walk through the journey of healing? We say, okay, I'm going to leave this behind. Yes, excited. Thank God that I can move past this. And then a few weeks later, a few months later, man, that pain is really holding on to me. The Egyptians that we left behind, they still have a grip on my mind. I still haven't found that healing, and my emotions that were so high now are so low. And isn't that how it sometimes is for many of us? And the problem is, for many of us who have been in church for a while, we've heard, maybe we've heard these sayings of like, you've got Jesus in your heart so you can smile in the storm, right? How many of us have sang that song? With Jesus in my heart, I can smile in the storm. It's okay. It's going to be all right because I have Jesus. But let me tell you this, guys. Let me tell you this, and maybe we don't hear this enough. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to lament. It's okay to think, man, things are not okay. Jesus himself had emotions. He was sad. He was crushed. He was in tears. He was sweating blood because of the stress and the pressure that he felt. It's okay to have emotions. It's okay to look back at things that we've lost, at relationships that are broken, and to say, this is tough. This is sad. I'm not doing super hot. Jesus himself had these emotions. Jesus himself went through these feelings. And it's okay to express those feelings. But let me tell you something really cool that we see in the Exodus story here. So if we look at Exodus in Numbers chapter 18, we see a glimpse of something that the Israelites had that maybe some of us do have, but we don't take advantage of. See, Moses not only was a great leader in that he led them through the desert and towards the Promised Land, but Moses was also a great leader in that he listened to his people. He sat with them. He would listen to some of the problems that they had, some of the things that they were going through. And honestly, the problem was he was doing it all on his own. And so one day, Moses' father-in-law, comes along and he's hanging out with him. And Moses telling him, hey man, I gotta go hang out with all my people. They have some issues going on. And so I need to go hear them out and help them out. And so his father-in-law is like, Moses, you're listening to all these Israelites? That's a lot of people. I don't know if you can handle all that. Like, you're crazy to do that all on your own. And so Moses, hearing what his father-in-law says and learning from him, he said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and appoint other leaders so that they can also hear the issues and the problems and the hurts and the pains of our people. And so Moses appoints all these other leaders in Numbers 18 so that they can also do that. Now, why do I tell you that story? Why is this relevant to what we're talking about right now? It's important because these Israelites, in their issues, in their problems, they would go to their leaders. And in their grieving, they would go to their leaders and they would have these conversations with them. Now remember, this is point number 2. And point number 2 is this: it invites us to lament in the face of continued pain with spiritual guidance. These leaders that they had were people who could guide them through these conversations that they were having, through these issues that they were having. And this is something that I want you to take advantage of. Now, if you don't feel comfortable coming to me and saying, Kika, I have these things that I'm dealing with, I have these issues that I would love to help you with, You've got other leaders in this room with you right now. You've got other leaders that show up every single Friday night, not because it's their job. They don't get paid for this, guys. They love you guys. And they want to be leaders in your life who help you walk through these journeys that you're in, to help you move forward, to help you find healing, to help you find God in the midst of the difficulties. So go to them. Go have conversations with them. They are your spiritual leaders. We are here for you. Just like these Israelites, as they walked through this journey, they had leaders, spiritual guidance through the pain, through the grieving. That's something that we want to offer you. You have our numbers, and if you don't, ask them, ask us. We'll share our time with you. We'd love to spend time with you to talk through this, because we've been through it too. And we've had leaders above us who have spent time with us to walk through this with us. We want to be able to do that with you as your spiritual leaders. And so as we look at that, that is a great reminder. And listen, if you're not even comfortable with that, I'll give you one other thing. In the past few months, Rachel and I have started doing counseling. We meet with a counselor, and I don't tell you this. It's not like, what, oh, Kika, you meet with a counselor? Like, are you guys crazy? Like, you have mental issues? Like, what's wrong with you? No, I don't have mental issues. No, Rachel doesn't have mental issues. We're just people, and we as people need guidance. We need people to walk with us and walk through life with us and have conversations with us. And so even for you, you can do this as well. It's okay. I think everybody should see a counselor. I've heard pastors talk about this is like the best thing that they've ever done for themselves. And honestly, this is so good for me. It's so good for Rachel and I. I think you guys should think about it. And listen, if your family has health insurance, it's honestly probably free. We're not paying anything as we do this, so you should take advantage of it. Because one, it's a third party. They don't know you or anyone else, and they're actually legally bound to not share things that with your friends, so they can't gossip about you with the things that you share with them. And so this is something that is so helpful that I think all of us should really look into. Have a mentor, have a spiritual guide in your life that walks through this with you. All right, that was number 2. Walking through lament. Invite us to walk through lament with a spiritual guidance. Number 3, here's our last one. You guys ready for this? Number 3. It's nice when I preach on video because I go faster. So that's good for you. Here's our third point. Third and last point. Walking through this journey invites us to enter the new land through continued obedience. Through continued obedience. All right. So let me ask you this. Have you ever been to like gym class one day? And for me, I love gym class. So I'm only talking to people who love gym class. Okay, some of you people are crazy and you hate gym. I don't know how you hate gym. Gym is so fun. But anyway, I love gym class, right? And there were days when I'd show up to gym and I'd be so excited, be so ready, and then I would realize that I don't have my gym clothes. I don't have my gym clothes. I'm not wearing sneakers. I'm wearing jeans. I don't have shorts. And so I show up, and I've sat through an hour of math, an hour of science, an hour of English, an hour of all this other stuff, and I'm sick of it. I'm tired, and I want a break. I'm excited to just play dodgeball, to nail some kids in the head, and to do all these fun activities. Okay, this is what I love gym. Obviously, I guess now you guys don't have gym because #COVID. But back in the day, right? Love gym. I show up to class. I'm ready to play. I don't have my stuff, and the teacher, as I come to the door, will say, "Sorry, you gotta sit this one out. You don't have your stuff." I'm like, "Wait, hold on. It's okay. Like I can just play." And they're like, "Nope, sorry, you can't play. If you don't have your stuff, you cannot play because you could get hurt. You could hurt somebody. You could stub your toe. If you play barefoot, you're gonna get all these blisters. It's not good. So you can't do this." I'm like, "Dude, please, just let me do this. I love playing." Nope, you cannot do it. You cannot play. You cannot play. Now these Israelites, they've been journeying through the wilderness for 40 years. They're so excited to get to the promised land. They're so excited to leave their past behind them, and they're right at the door. They're right at the door of the promised land. They could see the promised land. They could almost touch the promised land. They've been journeying for 40 years, and they've almost made it. And here is the crazy thing. so many of them, even though they were so close, never got to the promised land. How crushing is that? You're so close. You made it all the way through math, science, English, social studies, and you're at the door for gym class, and you're so excited to just get that weight off your shoulders and just have some fun. And the teacher says, sorry, you can't come in. Sorry, you can't enter the promised land. Why? Why, please? I've been looking so forward to this. I've been looking so forward to this. And for them, for these Israelites, it's like 10,000 million times worse than me missing gym class. They've literally spent so much time waiting to get to the promised land. How does this happen? Why are they unable to enter? Look at Numbers chapter 14 with me. Here's what it says. Wouldn't it be better for us to go back to Egypt? They said to one another. We should choose a leader and go back to Egypt. Here they are again. They're complaining. They're like, man, this is tough. We're impatient. Let's just ditch this thing. Let's just ditch it. Let's go back. If the Lord is pleased with us, he will lead us into that land, a land flowing with milk and honey. So this is verse 8 now. We skipped a little bit ahead. And then verse 9, it says this, only do not rebel against the Lord. This is so key. Verse 9, only do not rebel against the Lord. And do not be afraid of the people of the land, because we will devour them. Their protection is gone, but the Lord is with us. Do not be afraid of them. Now let's give some context here. Let's try to understand what's going on, right? So what's happening here is that they're so close to the promised land, but they're complaining, and the real people who believe that God's going to bring this into the promised land, they're hey, no, stop worrying. Like, if God is pleased with us, we're going to go into the promised land. And there are other people who are like, no, let's just go home. Like, let's just go back to Egypt. Like, honestly, this has been too long of a trip. We can't handle this anymore. I think we're just going to turn back and go home. And these other people are like, please, you're at the door. We are so close to entering the promised land. Please, just if the Lord is pleased with us, he's going to let us in. And here's the key. Only do not rebel against the Lord. Do not rebel against the Lord. If you want to enter into the promised land, only do not rebel against the Lord. Remember, here's our third and last point. This journey towards healing invites us to enter a new land through continued obedience. Through continued obedience. They are told, only do not rebel against the Lord, and you're going to make it through. But the problem is that so many of them chose to rebel. So many of them chose to say, you know what? I can't handle this anymore. I'm just going to do it my way. I'm just going to go ahead and do what I think is necessary in order for me. I can't wait. I can't keep waiting on God. I'm going to take things into my own hands. I'm going to get revenge my way. I'm going to find a way to make that other person hurt because they hurt me. I can't handle this anymore. So I'm going to do anything I can because I can't wait. I can't keep waiting for God. Come on, let's get this moving. I want to find healing. I think I'm going to find healing by hurting the other person. I think I want to find healing by stuffing it down, by becoming like this soda can. That's rebelling. God is calling us to obedience. If you want to find healing, it takes obedience. I know sometimes we get impatient, but so often we're right at the door. You're right at the door. You're so close you can almost reach out and grab it. But we become impatient like these Israelites. And we say, I'd rather die than keep waiting. I'd rather go back and suffer and be enslaved and go back and be held down and trapped in this suffering than to keep being patient, to keep being obedient, to keep listening to God. This is the door. We are so close to finding healing. So many of us are so close. We're on this journey, and this door is right here. Don't lose hope. Don't lose patience. Don't lose your obedience to God, because he has promised us that he can bring us healing. But we can't just expect God to give us healing if we don't keep walking in obedience to him. Yes, obviously our relationship to God does not all depend on the right and the wrong that we do, but if we want God's blessings, how do we expect him to bless us if we are walking away from him? If he is going to bless us, we have to be walking in his will. If we want to find the healing that he promises, the peace that he brings us, we have to keep obeying him. We have to keep walking in patience of what he and only he can do. And I understand this journey can be draining. It can be difficult to walk through this time. It can be difficult to continue to have patience. You feel like you are carrying a heavy burden. It's so heavy. It's so hard to keep walking through this journey. I don't know if I can keep doing it. I understand that. But I have some good news for us. In Matthew chapter 11, Jesus says something so incredible that touches the heart of this conversation. He says, "Come to me, all who are weary and are carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest." Come to me, all who are weary and are carrying a heavy burden, and I will give you rest. I know you haven't reached the promised land yet. I know you haven't gotten to the other side yet. I know you haven't found healing yet, but listen to me. If you are on this journey and you are carrying a heavy burden, you do not have to carry it on your own. Jesus has said, "Come to me. Come to me on your journey while you're walking towards the promised land." I know it's a long journey. I know it requires patience. I know that it's hard to keep obeying, but listen to me. You don't have to do this on your own. Listen to me. I'm right here with you. I'm walking alongside you. I have suffered so that you don't have to suffer on your own. I am here and I've died so that you don't have to carry this burden on your own. He's telling you, come to me. I'll take this burden from you. Lay it down. Take that burden off and lay it down at my feet, and I will take it from you. I will carry it for you. You do not have to carry the weight of the hurt, the weight of the pain on your own shoulders. Jesus has said, "Come to me, all who are weary, all who are carrying a heavy weight on your back, and take it off and put it at my feet, and I will give you rest." Listen to me, guys. The reality is, some things in life, we will keep walking in healing for a very long time. But that doesn't mean that we cannot find rest. Jesus died for you and me. He died for our salvation. He died for our eternity, but also he died so that you and I can have someone today, not just in eternity, but today, to give us rest, to give us a break, to give us healing right now, right here, for today, for tomorrow. Go to him. He will give you rest. He has invited us to give him our burdens so that we can find rest. As we walk through this journey together, guys, let's remember that we are invited into these three things. We're invited on this journey to have patience. We're invited because he understands that we're still going to feel some pain, and so it's okay to think through and talk through some of this pain with a spiritual leader. That's number 2. And number 3, we are invited to enter this new land, this promised land, with obedience. Continue to walk towards Jesus, towards the healing that he has for you in obedience. If we try to do it on our own, we will not find that healing. If we try to go back and get revenge and fight that person, we're not going to find that healing. But he has promised to give us rest. And so as we walk through this journey, let us lay down our burdens before him and trust that there is a promised land, that there is healing. And on our way towards healing, when it gets too heavy, Jesus, I will trust in you. I will lay down my burdens before you, and I know that you will give me rest. Let's pray together. God, we thank you that even on this long journey, even when it gets tiring, and even when we start to lose patience, and even when we start to feel like, man, I don't know if I can continue in obedience, it's hard, it's tough. Jesus, you look and you say, I will give you rest. But God, we also thank you, and because we know that you have promised us healing, that we know that at the very least, one day we will live a life eternal with you, that where there is no more tears, where there is no more pain, where you have wiped away the last tear from our eyes. God, I pray for my brothers and sisters in this room, some of my closest friends, Lord, and I pray, God, that you would give them some healing. That Jesus, as we walk through this conversation on finding healing, Jesus, that we would believe that you are the great healer. Pray, God, that you would be with us as we step into this next week, and believe in you to be our healer, to be our provider, to be the one who is going to give us rest. So, God, we love you, and we thank you for all this. And it's in your name we pray. Amen. Amen. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Everybody who is at church right now, please help us out by grabbing your chairs and stacking them in the back. Yeah, I'm still telling you this even though I'm online. But also, quick announcement for us. This Saturday will be Lighthouse Night for all young adults. So high school seniors and up. We'll be meeting right here where you are right now. And we are having a relationship panel. So talking about relationships, we're going to have some married couples, some dating couples. I think some dating couples, maybe not. I don't remember. But it's going to be incredible, and we're going to have some conversation and some questions being answered. So make sure you're there on Saturday night at 7:30. Also on Friday night for high school and middle school, we have youth group. It's going to be incredible as usual. Always good. Also here on Friday night, and I think that is all the announcements I have for you. So please grab a chair and stack them in the back. Love you guys, and we'll see you next week.